I think we've been on the road to digital for a really long time. Society, humanity. We've been, I mean, coming out of, I mean, I can't even imagine what life was before all of these inventions, before roads, before electricity, before electricity, before books, before the written word. I can't even imagine. But it's kind of absolutely amazing that we've done all of this stuff. You know? um, uh, but I feel like we've been on this road for a really long time, and I feel we've developed a ethos, maybe more than an ethos. I feel like we've developed a faith, a belief system around strife and struggle. Like we believe that shit. Like we really believe it. Like we believe it to the core of our being that life is struggle, misery. Uh, and I think at the very least, the last couple thousand years has been based on that belief. And I think we've used it as a type of primer for the acceleration of invention. So you could think of it as the pulley system, or the for the yin that is suffering, the yang has been invention, right? Counter suffering, right? That kind of counterbalance, counterweighted, and that's what the last couple thousand years have seems to have borne out, you know. And I don't personally believe in suffering. I believe we are rational. I believe we have um, maybe not control of our environment, but a certain command of it. You know, I believe we can eradicate suffering, but but the metaphysical part of me feels like you have to replace suffering with something else. Do you understand? Like, I don't know why. I'm not sure if that's actually true, but I feel like in order for us to uh, evolve and transcend that state, that belief system, that paradigm, we have to craft a paradigm that is um, that fulfills the I guess the equation as nicely, you know. That's tricky, you know. I mean, and what do you replace suffering with? Uh, you know what you could replace it with? Um, Star Trek. You could replace it with unknown. Um, so we have no more westward left to go. Mind you, I don't think we ever had a westward to go to, but that's a different debate. But there are still frontiers left to explore, um, membranes left to pierce. You know, certainly space time is probably the most uh, compelling. Um, I think the one that beckons. I don't know how many generations or centuries we are away from conquering that, but I mean, maybe that's just around the corner too. I don't know, but you could, I think, supplant suffering with.
Hey, it wasn't the haki I gave you?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was a corned beef I gave
No,
you.
no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Good.
But we could supplant suffering with this to Star Trek. To boldly go where no man has gone before. You know, I'm serious though. Like that. You know, and the uncertainty and the fear of that uncertainty, the fear of that breaching that barrier, I think is significant, and it's enough. You know, it's enough. It is a good uh, um, counterbalance to innovation. We could do away with suffering altogether. I think. I mean, you know, I know I'm fucking, you know, oh, friggin' utopian chick. Go hug a tree, man, and get over it. Yeah, okay, sure. But I mean, you know, I get it. You know, I kinda like. I mean, I'm not really. I genuinely don't believe in suffering. I don't. I believe that life is meant to be lived. You know, stories are meant to be told. Um, and life is hard. You know, you do get your heart broken and trounced on. You do lose things. You do face plant. It's hard onto itself. I don't know why we feel the need to make it that much more um, unbearable for people. I don't understand that. I don't, and I probably never will. I don't think. I mean, Maya Angelou says to never judge another human soul as separate and apart from yourself. So, whatever one person's capable of doing, you must be able to see yourself as capable as well. So, there is that. But in any case, I kind of feel sometimes like I look at life and I think, no, a lot of this stuff we can lick this. Like we can lick this. We could do that. We actually can though. Actually, you know, we're just somehow we're caught in this weird something. I don't know why. Just refuse to. I don't know if we refuse to. I think we're just. Some people say we're just asleep. I don't know if we're asleep. Maybe we're asleep. Maybe we're afraid. Maybe we're like the elephant, the circus elephant. You know, the thing that thing. Yeah, maybe all of humanity is like just like the elephant. We're stuck in that. I don't know what the like the actual psychological term is, but you know, the thing where as a baby, the elephant is chained to the post, right? Chained, um, and so conditioned that by the time the elephant becomes an adult, they don't need to use the chain anymore. They could just use a rope, and the elephant won't try to break free. That kind of thing. I think that's our problem. You know, that's how we feel about life and suffering and imagination and creativity. I think that's our problem. We're kind of stuck like that. Uh, but yeah, I think it's possible to envision something different. And I think that's kind of why, I mean, like when you look at somebody like an Elon Musk, that's kind of why he's kind of groovy. Is, I mean, I mean, he's formally proposing that we, as a group, you know, make that make that leap into collectively pursuing this kind of reality, which to me is really just, it's kind of like, it's kind of like this idea of looking at humanity and being like, it's time to put your big boy pants on, you know? Solve the solvable problems and let's get on to the really cool stuff already. Like, let's stop bickering over the stupid stuff, right? Let's handle your shit. Let's get on to the really cool stuff already. Like, why aren't we there? You know? And I think it might be like this generation, like my generation, because we're a little bit weird, like we're a little bit, I think, not quite, we're not realists in that way. We're just, I don't think we are. Like, I think we grew up on comic books, superheroes, and things like this. So we're a little bit delusional, in the best possible sense of the word. Where you think, well, I mean, if space is out there, and we are actually threatened with all kinds of uncertainties being here, why wouldn't we just try and colonize space? Is that really that weird idea? I don't think that's weird. Like, I feel like that's the next logical step. Like, in my mind, that sounds perfectly reasonable. I don't know why that sounds perfectly reasonable, because that's crazy. But somewhere in my mind, I'm like, no, that makes perfect sense to me. Like, that should be the thing. Or if it's not that thing, it's, you know, piercing the veil of dimension, right? That makes sense to me. As a collective, as what is going to shape our reality for the next 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years. It shouldn't be agriculture. Agriculture, we've got licked, right? I mean, pollution. Like, we should hurry up and sort of bookend these other things, like pollution, and just like get on with fixing that, so that we can get on to the really cool stuff. Racism. Like, oh my god, like let's just tie up these fucking loose ends. This is stuff that's just been lingering and just sort of dragging our feet and just mucky, just stupid, just, let's just deal with it. Just fix it. Because we can. I'm pretty sure. The next 20, 50 years should just be about bookending those issues so that suffering can be done and dealt with. Suffering's done. We've all of this, all of the progress that has sort of come from our fear of death and our fear of scarcity, right? This is the suffering that I'm talking about. That's what this final chapter has been about, I think. And I think we can wrap it and get on to what's going to shape the next section. What's going to be the thing that gives us purpose. And I mean, maybe it's the alien, but even if it is the alien, I think that speaks to this idea of piercing the veil, right? And that's a whole other parameter as far as I'm concerned. It's about creating a whole other type of system, a whole other, not like I'm not I'm not this totalitarian, like it's got to look like what's that movie with the Graviton, that futuristic sort of post-apocalyptic film. Is it post-apocalyptic? I don't even know what you want to call it. But basically, where like it's futuristic and it's this society where nobody's allowed to feel, and all they do is just kind of like, they're kind of like drones. Like, I'm not talking about that type of society, because that makes no sense to me. But I don't know why we couldn't just be, Like, we'll find a happy medium, you know, where, like, fight or flight is a problem, you know, fight or flight, that fear, that scarcity, that all of that stuff is a problem. You know, we need to develop a type of calm and a type of meditative quality when needs be, but we need to be able to tap our emotions and tap our passions when needs be, and hopefully without the use of drugs, right? But because we have the kind of spiritual and mental wherewithal to direct our energies efficiently, swimmingly, fluently, as needed, preferably. But yeah, you know, like that's what I think the next stage should be like. It should be this uh, paradigm that's driven by a new um, a new question. You know, we're confronting something else or running from something else. You know, I mean, scarcity is really the scarcity era is really about running from something else. It's about, you know, putting that barrier between us and the darkness. It's about cultivating that separation between man and nature, so that man can, in fact, find ways to manipulate, and dominate nature, which I think is understandable. You know, it's you know, it has its problems, but it's understandable, right? And then, but you know, I feel like we're getting to that space now where suffering doesn't really make rational sense. You know, like, I think in an era where there wasn't electricity, suffering was a natural extension of sort of, you know, like things like winter. You know, just okay. But in this age, it's not making sense anymore, and it's largely an affectation. It's largely an instrumentation of man on man, man exploiting man's inhumanity to man as a justification for uh, exerting dominance, uh, maintaining hierarchical structures. These are not rational things. This is sort of some desperate plea for an old, like, it's not rational. You know, it's not about really solving problems or really answering these questions or really responding to the needs of either the individual or the group, for that matter, depending on what group we're talking about. Right? It doesn't make sense. You know, it feels artificial. Like, suffering has started to feel artificial, as in something that you use as a trope or as a symbol, you know, something that's constructed or enforced upon somebody or group of people, on the psyche of people in particularly, in order to justify a series of actions. And that's completely irrational. Like, I mean, again, you know, the next 20, 50 years, I think, is about, because I think that there's also probably, like, you look at somebody like, where does an Elon Musk come from? What produces that guy with that kind of chutzpah and, like, yeah, I feel like doing this, I'm just gonna do that. Like, what is that? What produces that? And why can't we do more of that? Like, why couldn't we do more of that? Right? And I mean, yes, okay, he's okay, brilliant. Yes, okay, there is that. We've all got to walk around with IQs of, like, I don't even know what, you know. But people aren't stupid necessarily, right? And I'm sure that there are societies the world over with brilliant minds that we're not even tapping right now because they're suffering at the moment. How does that make sense? On what scale does that make sense? Right? It doesn't. It just doesn't.